So I got another one of you that hit me up. Nate, I think it's Nate FSU, says, what is the ceiling and floor for Florida State with DJ Uiagalelei? Now, if you want to get at me on Twitter, it's at JD Piquel. Shoot me a question on there. And I think it's a fair question because last season for Florida State, it was magical, right? It was magical up until, I guess, it wasn't. When you won the ACC regular season undefeated, probably feel like you should have been in the college football playoff. But now Jordan Travis has gone to the NFL. Rehab looks like it's going well, by the way, so we're excited for that. DJ Uiagalelei enters into the fray as your starting quarterback. Now, I will say this. I think a lot of people have a strong opinion on DJU. Whether it's positive or negative, you probably have your opinion on DJU. And I think the people that would say negative things about DJU would point to his time at Clemson and say, well, look at how he didn't play well in the ACC. Look at what he didn't do there. I would just say this, and we've said this a couple times, but I'll rephrase it again. DJ Uiagalelei, I don't know if he was the solution at Clemson, but he definitely wasn't the only problem at Clemson. And that was early on in his career. Like DJU left Clemson, and Clemson's offense got worse. Okay? DJU went to Oregon State. Oregon State still scored right around 30 points a game. And so I think the big question you have to ask if you're Florida State when you talk about ceiling versus floor, what do you get from DJU in terms of his maturation since being at Clemson and now coming back to the ACC? And the other question you have to ask is, what do you do around DJU? Because listen, we love Jordan Travis. We think Jordan Travis is a dog. All right, we're big fans of his. But I would also say, like, what made Florida State so good last year, yes, Jordan Travis elevated his game, but does Florida State go undefeated if Keon Coleman doesn't transfer into Florida State? I'm not saying Keon Coleman is the end-all, be-all, and that's going to change the trajectory of Florida State football in 2024. But I do think that what you put around Jordan Travis elevated his game. That's why we love college football. It's the greatest team sport in the world. There's no way around it. So my question then is, what do you ask DJU to do and who with? Is Malik Benson going to elevate his game and be a version of what Keon Coleman was? Because I think from a skill set perspective, DJ Uiagalelei, what he brings to the table, a different player than Jordan Travis, but I think he brings a similar level of tools to the table. And that's not me saying they're the same player. I'm just saying you can still call design quarterback runs. You can still push the ball vertical. I think Jordan Travis and his development as a quarterback, I think he really found his stride there towards the end of his time at Florida State. But when he was early at Florida State, like he was going to Mike Norvell's office and saying, hey, I don't know if I should keep playing quarterback. Should I go play wide receiver? And Mike Norvell was like, hey, listen, calm down. We're going to get you, we're going to get you where you need to be. Just stay at it. DJU and his journey to Florida State and what he's had to endure, I think, one, makes him extremely mentally tough, just from the outside looking in. That's how I feel about it. Two, I think Mike Norvell and his track record with quarterbacks is not something we should gloss over. Like, I would not be surprised in the slightest if we saw DJU enter into the ACC with bad intentions, and that combo of him with Mike Norvell and the chip this Florida State team probably has on their shoulder based on last season's events, I could see that being a really, really great marriage. So to answer your question, ceiling and floor for Florida State, I think ceiling, you look at the ACC, and I have a hard time picking a favorite. Like maybe you talk about Florida State because of what did a season ago and who Mike Norvell is. Maybe you like Miami. Maybe you think Clemson's going to bounce back. Maybe you're talking about another team in the ACC being a dark horse. We just talked about Virginia Tech a second ago. The bottom line, I feel like the ACC is pretty wide open. Like I don't think there's a game that you just automatically chalk up for Florida State and say that's a loss. I don't see that on the schedule of Florida State in ACC play. So you look at non-conference play. Notre Dame, we'll see what they are with Riley Leonard. I'm still transparently a little bit wait and see on what he's going to be within that system. I think it'll complement him, but I still have my reservations about Riley Leonard. It is what it is. You talk about a school like Florida. Who knows what they're going to be in 2024? A lot of pressure out there. Graham Mertz, can he take that next step? Eugene Wilson is a stick of dynamite. I love watching him play football, but like, what is Florida? So I think, for me, when I look at the ceiling for Florida State, it's not a prediction, but I don't think it's unrealistic to say undefeated is probably the ceiling. Now, what is the floor for them? Again, that goes back to what does DJU bring to the table and who around DJU is able to help him. I think the floor for Florida State, I'd probably put, as we sit here in early February, somewhere around 8-4. And that's assuming that they struggle offensively and that the defense is taking a massive step back with who they lost. A lot is going to make sense here as we get into that first month of the season. Not saying we'll know who Florida State is, but I think we'll have a better gauge for what they have personnel-wise. But I would just make sure we say this as we move on to our next segment. DJU, if you ask him to win all the games for you, that's not going to be who Florida State wants to be. Like, if you tell DJU to put on the cape and wheel you to a undefeated season, that's not the formula. It's not the formula. So a lot of it is going to be around DJU and how much they support him and how successful they are because of that. So if you're thinking it's just purely a DJU question and answer, I don't think that's the case, but I do think from a tool standpoint, he has what you need to be successful. If they can be dynamic offensively, they can be balanced offensively through the air, he can be consistent throwing the football, good things are going to happen. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.